I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is here with us. Shout out to Mike Washington, providing big time love as we get into football season. Now it's all serious, so he back in the role. Charles Bishop, though, now he's on assignment, but not to be ado. We have none other than A.D. Drew, and he says some coaches out there sending messages about the poll ranking. Tell him we appreciate your care, and we certainly adhere to the thought process, and we'll see what the computers continue to say. Some of the guest co-hosts may be in line with these coaches, but hey, it is what it is. With that being said, welcome to episode 703 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, a show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletics, aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. In short, we just call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and A.D. Drew. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KSWA's 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, that is Ralph Cooper, in a beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, let's bring on our other co-hosts and make sure we don't get in trouble with any of this rat poison.
Oh, here we go.
With that being said, Drew, how are you doing today?
Doc, I'm doing fine. It's I'm gonna say this. After going through the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff and then opening weekend of football, I have never been so excited about a week one bye in football ever in my life. But I am excited that Morehouse is on a bye this week.
Good stuff. Good stuff. With that being said, Mike, what's going on with you?
Man, a little bit different shade than AD. I am excited after week one at the possibility of possibilities. If you ever watched that show, Love Jones, back in 1994, for those of you young enough to remember, he has a classic line: I don't have all the answers, I just have all the questions. And right now, after week one, I don't have all the answers, I just have all the questions. So I'm very excited, but there's still a lot of questions that I still have, a lot of data points that are yet to be resolved. Other than that, I'm doing just great, Don.
Man, I'm so glad you said data points, because when we get to the news of the day, I'm going to give you a data point.
Awesome, dude.
Oh, I saw some of the hidden data points, boy. Drew had some good ones. In fact, we might even allow you to do some of that during this news segment, so we can get into the ball games, because that stuff was hot and heavy. I like it. Well, today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting, educational consulting, and data analytics. With that being said, in fact, Drew, I'm going to go back to you. Go ahead and provide your talking points, if you would.
Well, that's not where I was going to go with Dr. Fugil, but thank you for giving me my props on that, because that took a lot of time to put that together. But what I am going to go to, and this is inside information, everybody. So this is the first time that this is going to be reported. So this is a Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab exclusive that I am just to share with you guys. I have on my phone the streaming the total live audience from week 0 and week 1 for all games on ESPN linear platforms. So obviously we're not worried about all there were 24 games. There were only 3 games that we are concerned about on this show, and that would be the 3 games that feature our HBCUs. So total live audience, that is whichever ESPN platform they were on linear, plus the ESPN app with the streaming. The Tuskegee Winston-Salem State game, which occurred on 8/31, brought in an audience of 28,514. Classic the day before, 15 p.m. brought in 35,448 views. Anybody remember what the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff number was off the top of your head?
No, I do not.
It was a little bit north of 800K. Well, once you go back and add the digital into it, and remember this was week 0, 8/23, 7:30 p.m. on ABC, featuring North Carolina Central and Southern. 1,092,151. And so if you're wondering where this ranks out of the 24 games, this ranks number 11 of the 24 games. And just for comparison, there were 2 games, 3 games that drew over 10 million views. So those are what we call those, Mike. Those are the outliers right there.
Outlier anomalies.
Anomalies, yes. And yeah, so there were 3 games that drew over 10 million. So after you take those out, man, the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff was right there in the mix.
Wow. Big time stuff.
Wow.
Good to know the numbers. Good to know the numbers when you're talking about TV. And then when you in that way, it's really important for us to understand that total live audience, TLA, total live audience in terms of taking what you get in the stadium in terms of attendance capacity, and then looking at what do you bring to the table in terms of broadcast media. You put all that together and you get that weighted numbers when you really changing the game in terms of understanding your reach and what's that look like for those that are focusing on your product. That's how you also get into the position of where you can elevate even more now. So just wanted to put that on the table a little bit for you. Good stuff, AD Drew. Continue to do stuff. And that ain't even the deeper ride that he's doing on, where he's going to talk about at some point as he's doing the numbers. I know we want to add another week of games in terms of classics, but this is going to be focused on the mid-major framework, which is pretty exciting. Then you even take a deeper dive in terms of the major division classics. And this is important when you're talking about analyzing data, particularly for ADs, VPs of athletics, when they're making consideration to have that data is rich in terms of making even better decisions that are based on metrics that are recent and current. With that being said, let me go to the data man himself that makes a big time living on understanding data, none other than Big Mike. And we're always happy when he shares that with us. We feel educated on a different level when Big Mike brings it to us. Big brother Mike, big brother Prudential.
I appreciate it. AD, those numbers are real nice. And I just wonder, from a business point, if you share those, the overall number with investors, not only just ADs, not only just, VPs athletic, but with investors, what kind of mark, what kind of pivot does that point put on the decision making in terms of, do we sponsor? What kind does it influence the amount of sponsorship? You'd be amazed that from a business point, how much those numbers really influence that amount of engagement. So Very valuable. Thanks for sharing. But my point, I guess let me pivot a little bit. Not to use the jargon too much, but there was an HBCU trailblazer. The one of the four folks from the A&T 4 passes away. And I got this from several sources. I had to double check it. So I got it because there's members in my corporation that are part of the North Carolina A&T engagement group, HBCU engagement groups in corporate America. Also got it on game day, and there's another site, HBCU, I think it's HBCU Love. So I got it from several sites, but Major General Joseph McNeil, one of the four North Carolina A&T State University freshmen who helped launch the sit-in movement that transferred the civil rights struggle, had passed away. He was 83 years old. The North Carolina A&T confirmed McNeil's death on Thursday, September 4th, and many folks praised him as both courageous and an activist and a decorated serviceman. For those of you like myself that may have had experience in the services, so there's several articles that go on to say that his bravery and determination, along with three others, sparked the civil rights movement across the United States. And that was a statement from the school. His military service and achievements as a major general in the Air Force Reserve Command also allude to his service and dedication to his country. He was from Wilmington, North Carolina, a native when he joined the fellow students, Ezel Blair Jr., later Jabril Kazan, David Richmond, Franklin McCain, at the segregated Woolworths lunch counter in Greensboro on February 1st, 1960. The A&T 4 quietly asked to be served. When the staff refused, they stayed in their seats. They protested and gained national attention and notoriety, and it inspired hundreds of similar demonstrations and helped push the desegregation movement forward. So kudos to my man and trailblazer, Major General Joseph McNeil.
Good stuff, Mike. I'm so glad that you brought that up. One of the things I do that I've started changing the lexicon, and like you have some people talk about the Mount Rushmore. So if we talk about 4, I tend to do A&T 4. I think there's a new way that we can do things that pay homage to things that are important to us, more so than just other nomenclature out there. So that's an excellent point. I saw on their helmets that the front of the bar, they put the image of the 4 A&T legendary men that sat at the counter and did that. So I thought it was great recognition, and now it adds even more to what that means based on you providing that information to us. So glad you did that and took that extra time to do that. Man, y'all are opening it up. Traditionally, we break down some news, but y'all put in some powerful things out there with the data in terms of how we change the game, understanding the magnitude of numbers, and then being poignant in terms of folks that we honor. With that being said, let's have a moment of silence for those. As we move forward, I did want to get into some awards, the excellence of SWAC and football players. Then we'll take our first break and get into some games and get into the stuff that people are really excited about, looking forward to week 2. We only have 16, 17 weeks for some, 15 for others. So, man, this stuff flies by. It's amazing how long you wait and get started and you get the first one. Next thing you know, you're in that weekly movement. But SWAC Football Awards came out this week. As you know, Southwestern Athletic Conference has tabbed Alabama State's Andrew Body, along with Jackson State, Ahmad Miller, Quincy Ivory, and Donovan Warren for SWAC Football Weekly Honors. We talked about Andrew Body. It was quite amazing. He was co-offensive as he shared it with Ahmad Miller. Body was 18-24 for 312 yards and 4 scores, posting 239.2 passer rating. That was the week 1 high among FCS quarterbacks facing Division I competition. He also carried the ball 16 times for 119 yards and a tutty. meaning a touchdown for those that don't know. Offensive player of the week was Miller. That's Ahmad Miller. Finished the day with 180 yards rushing on just 12 carries with a pair of touchdowns that put the game out of reach in the fourth quarter for JSU, including a 76-yard run with 4 minutes remaining. He finished the day averaging 15 yards per carry. Defensive and newcomer happened to be Ivory, and that is Quincy Ivory, was named Defensive Player of the Week and Newcomer of the Week after 8 tackles performance versus Hampton. He also recorded 3.5 tackles for a loss and a pair of sacks in the win, as well as forcing a fumble and a recovery for a fumble. Warren, who was the specialist of the week, and that's Donovan Warren, was named Special of the Week after contributing 4 punts inside the 20, including a pair of inside the 5 against Hampton. He finished the day with 7 punts for a 41.7 yard average and had a long of 62 yards, putting in major work. MEAC announced weekly football honors as well. Delaware State running back Marquise Gillis was named the MEAC Offensive Player of the Week. Hornet teammate Quentin Johnson earned Defensive Player of the Week honors, while Morgan State running back Randall Nodden was named Rookie of the Week. Morgan State's Gerard Burrell and Howard's Matt Kennard earned Offensive Lineman and Specialist of the Week honors. Specifically, Gillis, the running back, turned in a standout performance against FBS opponent Delaware, rushing for 123 yards on 17 carries. He also added 3 receptions for 49 yards. If that wasn't enough, he highlighted by a 39-yard touchdown grab. Johnson, the linebacker, recorded a game high 15 tackles, including 5 solo stops in the 35-17 setback against University of Delaware. Nodden, the running back, broke off a 56-yard run in the fourth quarter and finished with 77 yards on 7 carries while adding 2 receptions for 13 yards in his collegiate debut. Barrow, the offensive lineman, anchored the Bears' offensive front, helping generate 340 total yards, and that's against FBS competition, including 181 rushing yards against FBS opponent South Alabama, while grading out above 80% on his assignments. Con Nord, the place kicker and punter, totaled 116 yards on 2 kickoff returns and added 36-yard punt. His biggest play came at the buzzer, drilling a 43-yard field goal as time expired to lift the team to victory over Florida A&M in the Orange Blossom Classics, which made troubling for a lot of the Rattler faithful out there. But we got to give some credit to Kennard. With that, Devon Slaughter was OVC Big South Freshman of the Week, 102 yards, 4 receptions, and a touchdown as they defeated North Carolina A&T and the Aggies over there in that John Merritt Classic. With that being said, we'll take our first break, come back on the other side, and let's get into some of these matchups. I want to see what these two gentlemen have to say.
Did you say Teddy? Touchdown? That is not a word. That is not a word. You said Teddy. No, I'm sure I'm listening.
Years, man. That's what they call
that's
me.
an E, not an I. That's all I want to say. That's an E, not an I on that word.
I thought you said Teddy. Lord.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I'm ready to get into some of these matchups. We got some good ones going on today. If you would, Drew, let's bring it on up so we can get right into some of these big-time games. In fact, let's start it off up there with this major division matchup against a mid-major division matchup. It happens to be a number 2 mid-major team, Virginia State Trojans. Some folks feel they should be ranked number 2. Some people think maybe they're too high, but they get a chance to make a major statement as they're on the road against the major team, Norfolk State Spartans, who are 0-1 after the tough loss against a team that would be playing another HBCU. We'll get into that a little bit, which is Morgan State and Townsend State. But let's see if we can go up a couple of slides there, Drew, in terms of that first matchup with Norfolk State, if you would, in terms that Virginia State matchup perfectly. Virginia State went out of conference, got a big win. Interesting to see what you have to say in terms of this particular matchup. I'm going to start with you, Mike. What are your thoughts in terms of Norfolk State and Virginia State?
Well, Norfolk State stumbled out the gate, and I don't think it's gonna happen in 2 or 3 games for them to get their act together. And if you look at how they performed that first game, and you look at the offensive spurts, you look at the offensive drives, the first 2 or 3, it looked anything short of abysmal. Now you could say new coaching staff, new this, new that. I don't think it's going to be short. I think they're prone to a defeat by Virginia State. Not that Virginia State is doing anything more, but I just think that just based on the start by Norfolk State, that defense couldn't really stop anything. Now they did play you could argue more of a superior prepared opponent, and I think it was it Towson, but I just was not impressed, and I don't think you'll see a lot of improvement in week 2 going against Virginia State. So
that's interesting. I want to see what Drew has to say. There's always folks looking at to see where the mid-major can get a win over the major division. That's Division 2 over FCS Division 1. Sometimes we look at it from an NAI perspective. So we got Drew, one of the mid-major experts out there. I want to see what his thoughts are on this matchup as Mike laid the groundwork there.
Norfolk need to find some quarterback play. They need to find some consistency on their offensive line so that they can run the ball. Norfolk does not need to make silly miscues when they have scoring opportunities like they did last week. Virginia State, although they look good when they play, everybody, let's keep in mind, they played a division, not 1, not 2, but 3 school. Let me school everybody on this. Division 3 schools have 0 athletic scholarships. They package financial aid and a few other things in a more creative way than a lot of institutions do. So, is what Virginia State did, is that a true measuring stick on what their potential could be against Norfolk State? They say past performance is a predictor of future results. I think the jury is still out. Norfolk, once again, I think I said the other day, Norfolk needs to come in and take Virginia State's heart away from them early. They cannot allow Virginia State to be in this game come the 4th quarter and let Virginia State think they have a chance to win. Because if you have a chance to win, Dr. Cavil, it's just like going on a date. If you think she's gonna say yes, you're gonna wind up asking out for a date. Don't get your heart broken, everybody, when they say
so
I like that. Great analogy. Let's go back. Let's go to this next game.
Not a great analogy. What did that have to do with football? What did that have to do with football?
I thought it was good. We all
Virginia State just put 40 points on Barton College. Now, you could argue Barton College is D3, but good Lord, did they ever put points on them? Ran up 350, nearly 400 yards. So they're obviously coming into the game more prepared. What does that have to do with a date? I have no idea. Please educate me on them data points.
Doc, are we going on to another game?
Yes. Go ahead and move to the next game. Let's get into this SWAC matchup as they're hosting a Southland Conference team, a new team to FCS football. Been a Division I team for a while now. That's Rio Grande Valley, the Vaqueros. That's RGV, for those that don't know. They were 1-0 as they played a Division II program that just transitioned to Division II. But they're on the road to number 4 HBCU program in terms of the top 7 that we do. Prairie View A&M Panthers that got an electric win over their rival to open things up last weekend in the Labor Day Classic. So they're 1-0. Also, obviously, that game counted in the conference standings. So 2 teams undefeated coming in this matchup. I'm going to stick with you, Drew, in terms of this matchup. What are your thoughts?
Don't know anything about Rio Grande Valley, so we're gonna just end that conversation right there. Prairie View pulling out a close one. Is the T-Jack show, is it smoke and mirrors, or is it something for real? We know what he did when he was at Valdosta State, so we are hoping that what we saw, they have the confidence of beating their rival, and they look good doing it. So, do I think Preview has a chance? Yes, but anytime SWAC has traditionally not done good when they step outside of the conference, especially this early in the season against an opponent like a Rio Grande Valley.
Mike, what are you talking about? You'll get a chance to see this game up close. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
I think I'm going to say a decent matchup. Rio Grande Valley, I know very little about them. They beat a team called Saul Ross.
Who?
I know Saul Ross. I know even less about that team.
And he's from Texas.
66-0. Saul Ross. They amassed nearly 500 yards of offense against Saul Ross. So I don't know what you know, and I'm from Texas, football state, but that's Saul Ross. You kind of be like, that's not even a data point. However, Rio Grande does come into the game with 1. They're a new team. If you saw Prairie View's team, you saw Pam Peters. That looked like night and day versus last year. He had command of the offense. The defense performed exceptionally well. It performed like a coach, like coach had said that they were going to perform. Lights out. They have to eliminate the mistakes with 15 penalties, leading to, so many yards, 15 penalties alone. Now, some of those were questionable, but if they eliminate the penalties and play like we saw them play TSU, I think Prairie View is going to be tough to beat. I think this will likely be a win for Prairie View Panthers, just based on how they played. They were able to run the ball really well. They had a very good offensive mix. The Rio Grande, I was looking at that most of it was kind of pass happy. They didn't do too well on the run, but Saul Ross, obviously when you're playing a team named Saul Ross, obviously you're going to be successful no matter how bad you play. So, and that's just me. That's just Mike saying that. So I expect Prairie View to come out to capitalize on some of the mistakes, to improve some of their mistakes, and I think they'll perform well. So I expect to win.
Let's look at this next matchup. The final matchup we'll look at in this segment will be a non-conference game that features conference opponents. Woo! A lot of people have some interest on this game for a lot of reasons. You have Alabama State Hornets, where Body was named co-offensive player of the week because of what he did, and that was against a FBS opponent, UAB. But they're traveling the Southern Jaguars that we all watched open things up in week 0 for the FCS level, where they matched up against North Carolina Central. Tough matchup for them as they were coming into the season top 7, but dropped out after a loss to North Carolina Central. They bounced back with a win this past weekend, getting it done. So they were 1-1 on the season as they took on Mississippi Valley State. But for a lot of folks, while their game was on the road, it was closer than some people thought, giving Valley a bit of respect in terms of what they're able to do. But people are still trying to figure out where Southern is. Got a couple of key injuries. So, Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? They are at home, those Jaguars, and always a tough play to play on the ball.
They are at home. Yes, indeed. You got to go to Baton Rouge, a.k.a. Red Stick, and all that that goes with it. But I look to it, one of the key factors is Cam McCoy, who will likely probably be the starter, the way things are going, against Body. Then you look at how Body played against a very strong UAB team and that's why he was player of the week. You looked at how solid Alabama State's defense performed, even though UAB scored a lot more points. You look at how ultra efficient at times their offense was more efficient in the second half. And then you look at Southern, all intents and purposes, as much stuff as I talk about Mississippi Valley had every chance to win that game. So that's a data point head scratcher for me. I don't know how well to think of the Southern team. I don't know what Southern team is going to show up. So I think flags are up for a strong Alabama State showing. I mean, Body looks good. He looks good. Body looks like coming into the league good.
Right.
So, he looks like 5-star good. So, you got to give the edge, even though I think you could argue that they had a decent loss against UAPB. You got to, flags are up. UAB, I'm sorry. You gotta say that the flags are up to me for Alabama State. If they perform like anything like they did last week, and Southern, hits you with the same head scratch as they did against Valley.
Good stuff. Drew, your thoughts?
One thing about Andrew Body has been consistency. When Andrew Body has been healthy, he has been a very consistent quarterback, even going back to the Texas Southern days. You can always tell his health based upon his play. When he's healthy, he's going to put up numbers. When he's not healthy, you're rolling the dice. So Body is healthy right now. The one thing that I like about what they did against UAB, Mike, was when he was at Texas Southern, they had design runs for Andrew Body. Against UAB, those rushing yards were those off-schedule plays that he took advantage of. So long as you keep Andrew Body out of those design runs or those RPOs, Alabama State is going to continue to flourish in this conference. Just let him play. When the play breaks down, him take it off, looks like he's less susceptible to sustain an injury during those plays versus those design RPOs where he keeps the ball and beats linebacker beat body all over the place. Anyway,
I completely agree. The improvisation that he had against you're right. Yeah, that stood out to me as well.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to Southern, we saw, and I'm going back to the game against Central because I saw more of that game than I saw of the Valley game. With McCoy at quarterback, we saw two different Southern teams. We saw Southern, who looked like they came into that game with McCoy really just having a package to play with in that game. Because we saw about 6, 7, 8 plays that they ran. Now, they ran for some big plays in that first quarter. When they tried to run them same plays in the second quarter, Mike, what happened? They got shut down. So if McCoy is going to be the quarterback, and McCoy is going to be a quarterback with a full week of preparation, can you add a little bit more to what he was planning to do outside of what his package was supposed to be in that Central game? I'm really interested to see that. Defensively, Southern, did not play a bad game against Central. Central had a couple, had like one long sustained drive. The rest of the time, it was Southern's offense putting them in a bad spot. But here's the thing: we talk all we want to about Alabama State. That was not a Coach Rob defense against UAB. They gave up a lot of big plays and sustained drives against them. So if Alabama State is going to give up big plays with McCoy at quarterback, Southern has a chance. But if you ask me to do the Brian Fulford and put some pizza money on this, my pizza money is going with the Hornets.
Yep. So is your pizza money, and Vegas money is too. But one thing, and Doc, sorry, I will say about McCoy, you're right. They did put the clamps because one of his runs, that I think that 60, 70-yarder was a surprise. I think it caught Central off guard, and they did put the clamps on him. But this man throws a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, from what I hear.
But but the problem is, can anybody catch that fastball? Because if the fastball is high outside, it ain't doing nobody no good. You gotta put it in the mitt. Put it in the pocket.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. With that being said, let's take our second break. We'll come back on the other side and talk about a couple of other games as well.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Greetings, Panthers. My name is Roland Austin, and I'm one of the directors at the 1876 Athletic Foundation. The 1876 Athletic Foundation was formed to promote the success of all 343 student athletes. Our overall goal is to fund scholarships for all of our student athletes. We ask that you help us in achieving this goal by donating to the 1876 Athletic Foundation via the QR code below or 1876.foundation. Your generous donation will help us continue to assist the needs of all of our Panther athletes. Thanks, and go Panthers.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
We're back with Professor Mike and Professor Drew. That's Professor Big Mike, as he likes to be called. Let's go back into this next matchup, which is fascinating as well, because it's one of those non-conference SWAC matchups. This time it features the Alcorn State Braves. We had a tough week losing to Northwestern State, where they were part of the record books in terms of breaking Northwestern State's long losing streak. They come in 0-1 in this matchup, and then you have Alabama A&M, the Bulldogs, who are also 0-1. They played up in terms of FBS, not only FBS, but Super 2 in terms of SEC power, if you would, as many people think. So I'm intrigued about this matchup. I'm going to start with you, Mike, in terms of the Braves taking on the Bulldogs up there in Huntsville, Alabama.
Mute. Check your mute.
Sorry, folks. So I'm a little intrigued. Remember when I said I ain't got all the answers, I got questions.
Mm-hmm.
So you let a team that had one of the longest losing streaks put 20 up on you. Yeah, you mustered 10 points, I believe, in the third quarter, even in the beginning of third quarter. So, and then Northwestern scored only in the first and fourth quarter. They had nearly 300 yards total offense. This is Northwestern State, not Northwestern University. So you kind of have put your head together and ask, what happened with Alcorn? Did was it the turnovers? I think Tolbert, the quarterback, had 2 interceptions. Maybe that was it. They didn't really have the advantage on total possession of game. Maybe that was another data point. They didn't rush for many yards. Maybe that was a data against Northwestern State. Whatever the case may be, they're coming in to play a different squad in Alabama A&M. And I think Alabama A&M, we talked about, is one of those teams that may or may not be strong in the East. So I have to understand, does Alcorn State really, does that really, I don't know, do they really correct the errors? That's my data point. Do they correct the errors? Because there were a lot of turnovers. Do they correct the turnovers and play like you typically would see at Alcorn State, that runs the ball and plays defense? Alabama A&M, for lack of better word, played well until the second half. So I don't know if I have a sufficient data point for them. So this is a head scratcher to me. Which Alcorn State team are you going to get? The one that knocks out the turnovers and jump back to the Alcorn State that runs the ball, plays defense? Or, will you see Alabama A&M, which played, for 50% of the game last week, played well? So this one is more of a question for me, Doc and AD. Maybe you know more, but I'm still on this Northwestern State loss and all of the mistakes and turnovers and inefficiencies by a typically stronger Alcorn State.
Mike, I think Brave Nation has the same questions you have. Drew?
Mike, you asked a bunch of questions about what was wrong with Alcorn State, and you gave a bunch of data points. I've got your answer, Mike. All of the above. So that's your answer. All of the above is what was wrong with Alcorn State against Northwestern State. We're not going to talk about the lack of offense, the inconsistency on offense. It's there. It's on record. We have it. So we're going to talk about Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M, this is always my biggest fear about playing up, especially when you're playing up against a P2 school. How healthy is Alabama A&M coming out of that game last week? Right. A healthy Alabama A&M, based upon what we saw from the Braves, runs all over the Braves. We know what Sam Shea could do, and Sam Shea had a team that competed, although the scoreboard didn't say it, physically competed with that P2 team that he played against. So if they can impose their physical will like they did last week against a SWAC-ish game, SWAC opponent, non-conference game, I see Alabama A&M running all over it. This is the second of two SWAC-ish games that we have this week.
Good stuff for both of you. Let's go to this next matchup. This is one of those matchups which features an HBCU in a HWCU matchup, non-conference matchup, but it's between in-state foes. Some people call it rivals. Morgan State won the first game between the two and haven't won since, so others would say it's not a rival because they hadn't won enough. However you want to look at it, you have Towson State Tigers coming in at 1-0. They beat Norfolk State, so in multiple ways this gives us some framework of what we may see later in the season in the MEAC as they travel on the road and go to the Bears' home stadium with Morgan State Bears, who had a tough loss. They did play up FBS, South Alabama, long trip. Played well for most of that game as it got away late, but they did a lot of good things. So with that being said, Drew, sticking with you, what are your thoughts on this matchup between Towson State and Morgan State?
I want to give a point of clarification on what you said, Dr. Cavil. You said in-state rival. Hell, this is a cross-town rivalry for these two teams, as they are both located in Baltimore. So, and this is the return game from last year. Morgan State flying all the way down to Tampa, competing at Tampa. You know what they picked up on their flight down to Tampa, Dr. Cavil? They picked up some offense. And what is one of the things that we have said about Morgan State? If they could ever figure it out on the offensive side of the ball, Morgan State is going to be a player in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. So for with 1 week of data in, looks like Morgan State has some answers on offense this year. So I give them more than a puncher's chance against Towson State. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, they've won this matchup previously. I'm going to roll with the Bears.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Mike, go ahead and jump back in here and tell you your thoughts on this, as I should have said, a crosstown rival between the Bears and Tigers. Oh my!
I do agree with Morgan State in that they typically each year they bring a very strong defense. They are really typically number 2-ish in the MEAC in defense. It's just their offense. I agree with AD on that. Towson is very competitive. And then we saw what they did last week, but you saw what Morgan State did last week, and you had to be a little bit impressed, that they flew down or went down to South Alabama and played, or went down to Mobile and played South Alabama relatively tough. I didn't see all the statistics of the game, but all of those data points allow me to say that this Morgan State can beat Towson. It'll be an interesting matchup, but I believe that if they can get some muster of offense, I think Morgan State has a very more than a puncher's chance to really beat Towson State.
Good stuff. Let's move to this next game, mid-major. It's a major. I don't know if we spend a lot of time on this, but I do have to ask the question. Does Elizabeth City State, the Vikings, have a chance against Hampton Pirates in this mid-major versus major division, CIAA, what we call a HBCU independent in terms of a HBCU Indy Hampton? Mike, Elizabeth, the Vikings have a chance in this matchup?
Okay, we're going to spend time on this one. Okay.
You can at least answer the question. Yes
Short
or no.
answer. Yeah. Easy answer. No. Absolutely not.
I'm going to go to you. Mike doesn't want to play with today. He's not excited about this matchup. We try to give you some love, Vikings. Hampton, we showcased you last week in terms of you getting that matchup again on the road against Jackson State.
Did we see how Hampton played?
Yeah, they played well for a half.
They played well for a half.
So really more than that, 3 quarters.
They shot themselves in the foot. 3 turnovers.
Yep.
I mean, that'll get you every time. So I'm not excited about this. This is not the sexiest matchup, but no, I'm not. No more data points. Just no.
Drew?
Doc, part of being a good podcast host is coming up with topics that are going to create interesting dialogue. Doc, I'm sorry. I have to tell you, you have failed with putting this matchup on the board. There is no dialogue about this matchup that's going to. Okay, this is not the old CIAA, Dr. Cavil, when Hampton was in the CIAA with Elizabeth City.
Right.
So
I don't even know who's cut it off back then. So good points.
No, and no. The only thing we need to be debating, if we want to have some dialogue, is what will the attendance be in this game? Give me an over-under on attendance. Other than that, there's no conversation to be had about this game.
Well, let's take our last break and come back and discuss our last games of the week and see if we can get a little more dialogue from these guys, because they did not like that Vikings versus the Pirates matchup between Hampton and Elizabeth City States. We'll be right back after this last break.
At AutoMasters LLC, our mission is to serve our community by providing quality automobiles at affordable prices. All of our vehicles are inspected and certified to offer you the confidence in knowing you have a quality vehicle. Our goal is to provide you with a seamless process and positive experience for your automobile purchase. Financing recommendations and specific vehicle inquiries are available at your request. You can find us at www.automasters06.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Also, please feel free to contact Terrence Miles at 601-927-7794. And tell him Sonia sent you.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and AD Drew. With that being said, let's get into it. This matchup, I think, might get you a little bit excited. You got a number 3 mid-major ranked team. That is Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls, who come in 1-0 on the season, and they on the road at Valdosta State Blazer, top 25. This is a matchup. Clark Atlanta did really well in Birmingham in a neutral site matchup against Valdosta State. Took them to the wire. I was right there with a chance to win the game late. Although they fell out of the polls, something tells me you'll hear about Clark Atlanta Panthers throughout the rest of the season, and they'll find a way back in that top 7 really quickly. And then they can talk about, Coach Keaton can talk a little bit about that rat poison if we rank them too high. At number 3, we have Johnson C. Smith. C. Smith Golden Bulls. I'm fascinated about this matchup. This is a team, Johnson C. Smith, that missed out on the CIAA championship with 2 late losses. They've hit the recruiting trail really well in most people's eyes, and so they look to be very focused coming into the season. So, Mike, I'm going to wait on you a little bit since you beat me up so much last week. Drew, you beat me up well as well, but I think I'm going to let you start this off.
You're looking at a Johnson C. Smith team who, if you go by last week's film, look like they were all of that. Now, there were a couple of things. Number one, Johnson C. Smith missed 4 extra points, PATs, on last week. They cannot afford to miss any extra points against Valdosta State. That's number one. Number 2, Johnson C. Smith was susceptible to the big play last week. You cannot give up the big play against a Valdosta State team. Valdosta State, it doesn't matter who the head coach is at Valdosta State. All this team seems to do is put another leader in, and they reload, and then they're right back there. If it's not year 1 with a new head coach, it is year 2 with a new head coach. I am inspired by this game. For Johnson C. Smith to win this game, all Coach Maurice Flowers has to do is think that A.D. Drew is somewhere involved in this game for Valdosta State, because no team that I have ever been involved with has ever beat Coach Maurice Flowers, Coach Maurice Flowers coach team. That's both at Fort Valley State and at Johnson C. Smith. So, Coach Flowers, I'm working for Valdosta State this week. That way you'll go ahead and get the victory.
Ooh, good stuff, good stuff. With that being said, Mike, your thoughts?
Well, when I look at it, this is a very good matchup, and in all of its splendor, Coach Flowers, you've heard his statement saying he's assembled what he described his most talented roster since his time. That's a big statement. You got key players. You got was it Benari Black and then Jalen Alexander.
Don't forget Kelvin Durham.
Exactly. Yeah, Durham. Yeah, thank you. So a quarterback. So I think, if you look at how they played that game, I do agree they were susceptible. I didn't see all of that game. I saw tad bits of it.
You didn't miss much, Mike.
I saw from what I saw, they may have been susceptible. And then you look on the other side of the coin, you look at Valdosta State, Division II runner-up team with all of the strengths they have. They have a solid running game. Joseph McKay is coming back. He's one of the best, returning squad. And then they have stability on the offensive line. You have senior leadership in the front 7. So I do look at it as a good game. I will be interested to see, can Johnson C. Smith knock out the potential, I would say, oopsies. And it'll be a strong game, but you have to give the edge still to Valdosta State with that returning front line, with that strong running game. They also have defensive experience that they have coming to the fray as well. So I look for it to be a good game, but I look for Valdosta State to pull this one out again.
Good stuff. Let's go to this next matchup. It doesn't look very sexy, but in this way, this is a SIAC CIAA. SIAC took 3 out of the 5 games last week, so it stands 3 games of SIAC to 2 games for CIAA in terms of those 5 matchups. So this is a 6th one. There's only 7 matchups, as A.D. Drew shared with us all earlier this week. So in terms of this matchup, SIAC can officially lock things up, or CIAA can make a statement. from that perspective, which way are you going, Mike? Yeah, Allen, are they going to lock it up for the SIAC, or will we be knotted up going down to that final matchup?
No, I think Allen will lock it up. I wish there was a lot more I could say about this one, but I think Allen will pull this one out in the end. They, if you look across the board, they are fairly balanced. I think the defense appears a little bit stronger, but I think Allen will lock this one up.
They're at home. Blue Bears had a surprise season last year. Does it start again this year? Do they get to make a statement, or are you saying and agreeing with Mike, Drew, that it's done? Dr. Holloman is going to be happy that will win the series against the CIAA last year after taking the L. This year, I should say, after taking it to the chin, I should say, from last year.
Dr. Cavil, Mike, I know when my bread is buttered. So I have to pull for my SIAC counterparts when they go up against the CIAA, because I refuse to have my SIAC brothers and sisters talk about me when we have those meetings, either in person or via Zoom. Now that I've got that out the way, Allen actually put up 28 points against a FCS opponent last week. So, this is not the Allen that a lot of people anticipated we were going to see this year. Looks like this is a very competitive Allen going against a Livingstone last week who really played like the sum squad of zero. So with the data points, Mike, outside my conference bias, the data points are even taking me towards Allen University on this one.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Final matchup that we'll discuss today will keep us in the SIAC. It happens to be between two teams that won the first weekend, but one probably is looking more as the favorite. In fact, they're ranked number 4. They're on the road, so they get a chance to test their mettle this week in terms of going on the road and getting a big conference victory as they stack them up. Particularly if you're looking at the Wildcats, this is before they go into FAMU. Which could become more interesting depending on how the Wildcats are playing. Particularly, you have a favorite in terms of quarterback Quinn Gray when he was there at FAMU, coming back as the head coach. They're versus Kentucky State Thoroughbreds, are 1-0. That was a conference game. It was against Central State, we must add. But with that being said, AD, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
And that would be the Albany State Golden Rams, Dr. Cavil.
Yes, I'm sure. Fort Valley State.
Fort Valley.
Thanks for cleaning that up.
Yeah, wrong blue and gold on that one, Dr. Cavil. But we saw a Golden Rams team that put up, I believe it was 51 against the Bears. So you have an Albany State that looks like they have not missed a cylinder all season and finish as strong as they did last year. They had hiccups in the middle of last season, but they started strong and they finished strong last year. With the likes of Tion Weiss toting the rock for the Golden Rams. Kentucky State, I don't know what to expect from Kentucky State this year. Central State is probably going to be at the bottom of the SIAC. So is that really a measuring stick for the Thoroughbreds, what they did against the Marauders last week? Well, here's your chance to prove it if you're Kentucky State. You're going up against the team that was predicted to finish number 1 in the conference this year. So Kentucky State, if you real, step up to the plate and show me that you're real. But I don't think they might be real, but they're not that real. I'm going with Albany State in this one.
Mike, I'm gonna let you close it out. Final thoughts as we get ready to call it a close.
So Albany takes this one. Here's why. That yes, they put up, was it 50? No, Kentucky State was it there? Which one put up 51 points?
Somebody put up 50 last week
against Shaw. Oh my goodness! I was like, good Lord. What happened? Did Shaw even play? No, it was Albany. They put up 51 points against Shaw, and then you saw Kentucky State. In the last 3 or 4 years, you can flip a coin and ask, what Kentucky State team are you going to get? I'm scratching my head. What is it with Kentucky State? There are some weeks they look good. They have flashes of greatness. And then there are other weeks you say, oh, that's the Kentucky State team we wanted. Albany State looked every bit the part. They looked very strong. They came out strong on both sides of the ball. Both teams really played teams that are going to be at the bottom of the division. Shaw at best has finished 4-3 in the last 2 or 3 years, other than being at the bottom, and we know what Central State is going to finish. So you got to give the edge to Albany for my father-in-law, Albany State, to really pull this one out, and not only pull it out, but pull it out, I'd say, convincingly.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Albany. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, as well as A.D. Drew. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Check us out on Sunday morning before you head to church at 9 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, as we will unveil week number 2. See what's going on. What does the top 7 look like in week number 2? We'll have it for you. We'll have these gentlemen along to give you their thoughts in terms of what we ended up doing with some of those matchups on Saturday and what I did with the poll rankings for the voters as they get you their updates. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyatta Cavil on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. DrKenyatta Cavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, if you would, on Facebook, HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. I'm used to saying Charles, but I got to say Mike.
Of course. Or quarter slow in Spanish.
Lecture.
Say it again.
Quarter slow in Spanish.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Drew?
I ain't got nothing for you. It's just plain old lecture for me.
Dismissed. We'll catch you on the other side.